I always ask people what's the worst picture they ever made. I don't know why. Maybe it's just my...
What's the worst picture?
The worst picture you're ever in.
Usually for me, it's when the experience of making it isn't so much fun. I didn't have that much fun making Under the Rainbow.
Yes.
You must have a good agent.
Ever since The Wonderful Wizard of Oz entered the public domain, countless visionaries have taken a shot at bringing the world of L. Frank Baum's stories to life. There have been animated movies, dark fantasy epics, even gritty TV dramas. But today, I want to look back at a movie that didn't take us to Oz, but rather Hollywood during the making of its most famous adaptation, in Under the Rainbow.
Rainbow? What the hell is going on here?
Most of the movies that I cover on this series are ones that I grew up with, that I feel deserve more attention, as well as movies that I feel have been unfairly maligned, where I try to highlight their good elements. Today's movie is neither of those things, however.
Uh-oh. Yep. Yeah. Great.
Yet I still feel this is one that deserves to be profiled, mostly due to what a strange little movie it is. Pun intended.
What'll it be, fellas?
2 doubles. I'll have the same.
For years, this movie was really hard to view, as its only major home video release came on VHS.
I can't understand that. I just can't understand it.
I can understand that.
I remember first encountering its page on IMDb as a young cinephile and being captivated by the concept alone. A comedy movie about the production of one of the most iconic films ever made, starring 2 of the biggest stars of the era.
Suppose that's your gun, huh?
Oh, no, I wear a shoulder holster.
Conceived by the creative team behind the acclaimed Buddy Holly story. It looked good. On paper.
Oh, you must be from Dusseldorf.
Many years later, I was able to buy a DVD copy thanks to Warner Archive, a great division of Warner Brothers that primarily focuses on releasing the more niche titles from the studio's century-long history. Some of their DVDs are actually made to order, which is the only way some of them would be available to own. As with a movie like Under the Rainbow, it would simply not make sense for Warner to do a major physical media release, unless they had a giant warehouse space devoted to storing crates of unsold inventory.
It's true!
Anyway, through them, I was able to finally view this movie, and upon watching it, it became abundantly clear why this movie had been unavailable for so long.
By not bad.
Unlike director Steve Rash's previous film, The Buddy Holly Story, which dramatized actual events, this movie took a real event, the making of The Wizard of Oz, and reimagined it as a farcical, over-the-top slapstick comedy.
Perfect. A midget posse. That's what was missing.
It centers around a very specific aspect of The Wizard of Oz's production, the casting of the Munchkins, and their performers' subsequent stay at the Culver Hotel during filming.
Well, I'm telling you, it's gonna be a great party.
Again, this is something that really happened, and the movie even filmed a few scenes at the real hotel, an iconic location that's been used in films since the silent era. But sadly, that's where its accuracy ends, and the story ends up having more to do with Nazi spies than it does with the Lollipop Guild. The movie begins, fittingly enough, in Kansas, where we are introduced to Rollo, played by Cork Hubbard, who has dreams of making it big in Hollywood.
There's no dream too big, and no dreamer too small.
He ends up running away from home to Hollywood.
Don't look so shocked. Haven't you ever seen little people before?
Not all in one place.
Where he literally stumbles upon a group of little people who are on their way to audition for The Wizard of Oz.
I'll admit it's quite a coincidence.
The first time I watched this, I thought this could be a really interesting way to showcase the production of that film. Seeing it through the eyes of a little person from small-town America suddenly thrust into the adventure of a lifetime.
Yeah, well, I got news for you, Buster. You're gonna have to go through Rollo's suite.
I plan to.
It reminds me of a movie that almost got made before Disney bought Lucasfilm, that would have been about the making of Star Wars from Peter Mayhew's perspective.
I don't have it. It's not wise. I've said a Wookiee.
I have a soft spot for movies about the small-town dreamer, headed to Hollywood to make it big.
Will I be a sensation in pictures?
Come on, get breakfast ready, Gable. Yeah.
But unfortunately, Under the Rainbow quickly abandons this plot in favor of countless others that it shoehorns into the story, focusing more on the other guests staying at the Culver Hotel.
Oh, look at all the children. It must be recess.
Excuse us, kids.
There's an Austrian Duke and Duchess and their Secret Service bodyguard played by Chevy Chase, as well as a group of Japanese tourists, with one played by the great Mako.
I must attend to more important matters.
Hopefully a new tailor.
As well as a Nazi spy named Otto, played by Billy Barty, who of course gets mistaken for one of the Munchkins and hijinks ensue.
And now, I will cut you into little pieces, just like this.
Easy, Billy Barty. Nobody cares about this.
There are also lots of scenes involving the hotel manager, played by Adam Arkin.
You are bad little people. You deserve to be short.
And the house detective, played by Pat McCormick.
I could have held the elevator, sir.
Who was one of the movie's whopping 5 credited screenwriters.
I'll admit it's quite a coincidence.
The whole concept ends up feeling more like a Neil Simon play than it does a movie about the Wizard of Oz. This film is at its best when it gets back to focusing on events that relate to the making of that iconic film, especially scenes featuring Carrie Fisher as Annie, a talent coordinator at MGM who is tasked with hiring and looking after the Munchkin performers.
Guys, please, come on, no short jokes, please, okay?
Sorry.
But even this subplot soon gets weighed down by all the others, as it turns out that Nazi maps had been hidden in a copy of Annie's script.
We must get the script at any cost. This mission has already taken too long.
There's a moment very early in the movie where we get to see behind the scenes of an old Hollywood production, and it's really inspiring. But then we don't come back to this location until the very end of the movie, for a Blazing Saddles-inspired chase scene involving the Munchkins crashing various film sets.
Shit.
Including Gone with the Wind.
I think you should leave this scene in the picture. Piss on you. I'm working for Mel Brooks. Not in the face.
I wish more of this type of stuff had been in the movie. Most of the story takes place at the hotel, where we get scenes featuring the same sets over and over again. There's just so much going on here that it's hard for anyone to individually shine. Even Chevy doesn't have much to do.
You will cooperate or I'll blow your brains out.
Like, in that exchange, you would expect the scene would end with Chevy making a sarcastic remark.
Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time?
Breathe easy.
But the scene just cuts away. The movie never gives him a chance to be, well, Chevy Chase.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't do that. Very special circumstances.
And most of his scenes revolve around him trying to wrangle the Duchess's dog, because that concept worked out so well just 1 year prior. Chevy at least got something good out of it though, as he met his future wife Janie on set.
And even his worst flop has been lucky for the star. During the filming of Under the Rainbow, he met the production coordinator and married her. Chevy and Janie Chase now have 3 daughters.
There's a romance subplot between his character and Annie that is very underdeveloped.
Sorry, you all right?
Yes, I'm fine.
Sorry again.
Both Carrie Fisher and Chevy Chase later remarked that this movie was the worst that they ever made.
And incidentally, because I say they're awful doesn't mean you shouldn't see them. Maybe that's one of the things people like about me, is that I'm willing to say, this is awful.
You son of a bitch.
Billy Barty surprisingly gets more to do than either of them. Despite being nominated for a Razzie for his performance in this movie, he is clearly having so much fun with his role as Otto the Nazi spy.
You must have a good agent.
I am a good agent.
Honestly, all of the Little People actors seem to be having fun with the material, even if it perpetuated the rumor that the original Munchkin actors were all wild party animals.
Oh, I never party while I'm on duty.
But there's gonna be booze and women.
Well, I guess it is my duty to check this party out.
2 of the original Munchkins actually appear in this movie, Jerry Marin and Ruth Tuccini, who coincidentally ended up being the last two alive. In his autobiography, Jerry had this to say about this movie's production. The film really exaggerated and exploited the goings-on involving the midgets way back in 1938 when we made The Wizard of Oz in Culver City. For decades, crazy rumors kept haunting all of us who worked in the original film. Stories that we wreaked havoc at the hotel, held wild orgies, and partied most of the time during production. People used to say that the police were called every night and murders happened, all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm here to tell you it's all a bunch of crap.
Don't you know when they're trying to pull a short joke on you?
It's a shame that this movie only added fuel to those rumors, as it could have been a really good chance to set the record straight, even if it does later basically retcon its own plot, having the events of the movie turn out to be a dream had by Rollo, very akin to the ending of The Wizard of Oz.
Well, it was inspiring.
Sure was.
Still, I have to give this movie some praise, mainly for creating acting opportunities for so many little people performers. Take note, Disney.
You son of a bitch.
Billy Barty actually assisted in the casting of the Munchkin performers here.
Take him to the stars. Stick with me, son, and I'll take you to the top.
And many of those actors would go on to have successful film careers, like Phil Fondacaro, Debbie Lee Carrington, Tony Cox, and Zelda Rubinstein, all of whom either debuted or made a very early film appearance in Under the Rainbow.
Yeah, and we'll all be Junior G-Men.
I just wish this movie had been a more accurate representation of Oz's production, seen through the eyes of its most unique group of performers. We almost get that through the Rollo character, but then the movie just places that whole arc on the back burner in favor of Little Rascals level gags. In any event, I have to give props to Warner Archive for not shying away from one of their more controversial failures, and for allowing this movie to be viewable today.
This is awful, but there might be a tidbit in here for you, you know.